Balanced headphones sound better than single-ended? That's one of the most expensive myths in the headphone world, and the audio industry keeps selling it. Here's what's actually happening. Manufacturers slap balanced on everything because it sounds premium, but your headphones can't be balanced or unbalanced. They're just speakers. What matters is the connection to your amplifier, and even then, the circuitry in that amp determines whether balance makes any difference at all. If you keep buying into the balance hype without understanding your actual signal path, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on cables, adapters that won't improve the sound. And in some cases, that might damage your gear. Balance has become a key word to help sell products. We touched on the broader topic of balanced versus unbalanced audio gear recently, and I want to continue by talking about how this relates to headphones. One of our most popular questions I get from customers is how I can make my headphones balance. So let's dive into that first. First, let's cover all the different types of headphone connections. So I've got a bunch of our new premium Moon Audio connectors here, and let's take a look at these. This is the Moon Audio 3.5mm TRS. Now, TRS stands for specific things, tip being the tip, R being the ring, S being the sleeve. And essentially, the tip determines the left-hand side positive signal, the ring, the right positive signal, and the sleeve is essentially a combination of the ground connections of left and right signals. This is the most important part of all of this, okay? Essentially, in this connector, and let's talk about the 1/4" connector, which is also a TRS. Same thing here, tip, ring, sleeve. The sleeve is the ground connection. And in this situation, you cannot untie the grounds, and you have to have a separate ground connection for left and a separate ground connection for right for balance to work. So essentially, a headphone is not balanced. The connector is what determines whether you can use your headphones with a balanced amplifier like this HA507 here from TIAC. So, if you look now at the balanced connectors, let's take away the single-ended ones. We've got a couple of options here. Now, one that I'm not mentioning here is the 2.5 TRRS. Essentially, it has a tip, 2 rings, and a sleeve. Now, the sleeve is only one of the ground connections, and the last ring is the other ground connection. Now, essentially, this provides a balanced connection, but I'm not a big fan of the 2.5. The 2.5 was released with Astel and Kern players way down the road a bit, and they saw that as a perfect opportunity for implementing balance on their DAPs at the beginning. But what we had a huge problem with 2.5 millimeters is they were very fragile. They were very small. The female tabs inside the DAP didn't have the strength to constantly hold on to each one of those TRRS inside the player, and sometimes you would have shorting issues, especially if the connector spun. So I don't recommend that connector ever again unless you've still got one of those ancient players. Today, you'll see that almost all the Astel and Kern players, they did away with the 2.5. They did a transition to a 2.5 and a 4.4, and now it's just the 4.4. The benefit of the 4.4 now is we have more rings. So we've got a tip, a ring, a ring, a ring, and a sleeve. Now what we get is a true sleeve ground connection on this connector. And essentially what we can do in our headphone cable is we tie our shield to this. And then that ties that shield to the chassis of the balanced amplifier. And now we have a way to optimize and get all of the noise that can potentially be picked up from the cable as an antenna, because there's all kinds of stuff in the air. So this is a much better balanced connector because we're accounting for a positive for right, a positive for left, a negative for right, a negative for left, and a true ground, whereas the 2.5 didn't. There's also in the past been a 3.5 TRS balanced connector that was used by some companies. It was a better connector in terms of size and durability, but again, we don't have this final grounding position, and that's really recommended, especially if you're going to connect your DAP to a home stereo system. Essentially, when you connect a DAP without a ground connection, sometimes you can get a hum issue, so that's very important to have that grounding position. Now, here is the 4-pin male XLR. This is probably the most prevalent balanced connector that's used with headphones. This will use 4 pins for the signals, and then the shell acts as the ground connection that's tied inside that then ties to the device when you plug it in to the chassis, just like the sleeve on the 4.4. So these are essentially what determine if your headphone cable and your headphones can utilize a balanced amplifier. Right here we have the Sennheiser new HDB 630 headphones. Now you'll see that this uses a 2.5 connection here, and this only has a tip, ring, and sleeve. So this headphone cannot be configured for a balanced amplifier. There's no way to do it because there's no way to untie those grounds. This is where you get into trouble with adapters, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, most single-sided, and what I mean by single-sided headphones are a single-sided headphone cable connection, usually aren't balanced. They usually only have a 3.5 TRS connection. There are some rare cases where you can have a single-sided headphone that can be balanced. So make sure you don't just equate a single-sided connection as not balanced, but in most cases it's only single-ended. So we can't do balance with this headphone. So let's get this one out of the way. So then we also have here the Poet from Meze, and you'll notice on each cup there's a connection. Each one of these is a 3.5 millimeter, and they utilize a TRS connection. Now, you will see some headphones that don't use TRS, they just use a tip and a sleeve. And essentially, that's fine. In both cases, the ring and the sleeve, or just the sleeve, act as the ground connection. So we tie the ring and the sleeve together, and then the tip equates to the positive connection. On the right cup, the positive right connection. On the left cup, the positive left. This headphone can be easily configured with a balanced headphone cable. And it's determined, again, by the connector on the end of the cable and by the amplifier. Hopefully, I've helped you understand a little bit more about connections. Over the last 25 years or so, I've had the opportunity to explore and test so many audio systems, and there is so much at play as to whether one solution sounds better than the other. The assumption that balanced is better is not always true, and if your headphones can't be configured for balance, this is not the end of the world. There are plenty of wonderful sounding single-ended pieces of tech for your headphones to sing. What are some misconceptions about both balanced and single-ended designs, and how they can and cannot provide a benefit to your headphones? Balance is more powerful? Not so fast. You're right, balance can provide more power, but that's amplifier design, not the cable or the headphones. Well-designed single-ended amplifiers can deliver the same power as a balanced amplifier. More power doesn't automatically equal better sound. What matters is the entire signal path, DAC, amp circuit, output, being truly balanced, not just the connector. The question becomes, is your amplifier truly balanced or just pseudo-balanced with balanced connectors? Balance is quieter. Again, not so fast. Balance can reduce noise. This is possible, but if a single-ended design is already noise-free and is not influenced by a noisy equipment environment, then this is a moot point again. Balance provides better dynamics? Again, not necessarily true. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not at all trying to steer anyone away from balanced audio. When a balanced circuit is done right, the results can be absolutely amazing. All balanced amplifiers will have a single-ended mode, and if you compare the single-ended versus the balance on this amplifier, the balanced connection is certainly going to win. Balance can certainly, if done correctly, and that is the key word, done correctly, it should be the winner every time. So what this means is you need our help here at Moon Audio to help weed out the choices and help understand which single-ended products are amazing and what balanced designs get you a true balanced architecture, as well as the ability to provide what all the hype is about. This testing became how we advise customers today. After all, we play with these toys every day, and here's how we can ensure you make the right choices in your connections. On all of our Dragon cable pages, we have a data field that states, list your connections to ensure compatibility. Make sure to fill this out so we can avoid costly mistakes. Let's go over a couple of tips. Tip number 1, understand your headphones. Are they balanced? There's no such thing as balanced or unbalanced headphones, remember. Only balanced or single-ended connections for your headphones, as well as the fact that your headphones are just speakers, 2 drivers with 2 wires each. They can't do common mode rejection like a balanced interconnect, and they're not a differential amplification device. How do you identify your connection? Look at your headphone cable connector plug going into your amplifier, count the contacts, points, rings on the connector, etc. 3 or fewer contacts equals single-ended, shared common ground. 4 or more contacts, a balanced connection, separate wires for the left positive, left negative, right positive, right negative. If you've got the 5th connection, bonus plan, you've got now a ground connection. Tip number 2, understand your connection types and what your amplifier uses. Here's what you need to know about connector types. I've already gone over which ones are balanced and single-ended, but the single-ended 3.5mm TRS is usually typical for portable devices, smartphones, etc. Normally you don't have them on full-size amplifiers, but some may have it. The 1/4 inch or 6.35mm TRS, usually you'll find on desktop systems, tube amps, receivers. This is probably the most popular connection out there. Again, 4-pin XLR. We've got 4 pins. Each one is for a different signal of the right and left channel, and then the shell is the ground. Then for the 4.4 Pentacon that was developed by Sony, this is the most versatile portable and desktop connector. You'll see this a lot now on all kinds of balanced headphone amps all over the place. The 2.5 TRS, I would avoid this one. It's fragile, it's being phased out. These are the 4 that you want to utilize. Tip number 3 is understanding when balance actually matters. This requires potentially a true balanced amplifier, a balanced DAC, which will equal a cleaner signal path. Or in a situation where you need extra power, you need a bridge design, a differential amp for demanding headphones. There's also long cable runs. Rarely matters with headphones unless you're planning to run a cable about 25 feet or longer. Then in these situations, balance is going to be very important. When single-ended sounds better, a well-designed single-ended circuit can beat a pseudo-balanced. It's got a simpler signal path with fewer components and a purer sound. There are many exceptional tube amps that are single-ended by design. The reality in blind A/B tests, volume matched, most can't distinguish quality single-ended from balance on the same amp. Cable quality and system synergy matter far more. Don't buy balance because of the hype. Buy it because your system needs it. Remember, there's no such thing as a balanced headphone, only balanced connections. What really matters is your amplifier circuit design and your entire signal path, not just the connector on your cable. If you're still unsure about balanced versus single-ended audio gear, check out our video here that breaks down whether balanced audio always sounds better. That video will take your understanding to the next level. Now on to the next one.